So you're thinking about jumping into the medical spa business. It's an absolute gold rush right now. But here's the thing. While the money is huge, the legal and financial traps are even bigger. We're going to break down the 5 most catastrophic mistakes that can turn your dream business into a total money pit. There is no doubt about it. The med spa industry is on fire. People want Botox, they want laser treatments, and demand is just through the roof. But all that fast growth has created this incredibly complex web of rules and regulations that, honestly, a lot of entrepreneurs just aren't ready for. And the numbers, they're just staggering. We're talking about a jump from around 1,600 med spas in 2010 to over 11,000 today. I mean, that's insane growth. It's no wonder big money, including private equity firms, is pouring in trying to get a piece of the action. So, with all that cash flying around, the big question is, what could possibly go wrong, right? Well, a lot. What are those hidden landmines that can turn this incredibly lucrative dream into an absolute legal and financial nightmare? Let's get into it. We're going to walk through the 5 biggest danger zones. The ownership trap, which is a huge one. Then figuring out who can legally do what procedure. We'll also cover the compliance rules you just can't ignore. And finally, the marketing tactics that can get you in some serious hot water. Think of this as your survival guide. First up is the ownership trap. And this one's a doozy. Before you even think about signing a lease or buying a razor, you have to answer one critical question. Are you legally allowed to own a medical spa in your state? And you'd be surprised how tricky the answer can be. It all boils down to this legal concept called the corporate practice of medicine, or CPOM for short. The whole idea behind it is simple: to make sure that business decisions don't interfere with a doctor's medical judgment. And since med spas are providing medical treatments, they get caught right in the middle of these really strict ownership rules. And this is where it gets really tricky because the rules are all over the place. In a super strict state like Texas, you pretty much have to be a licensed physician to own the place. But then you've got more flexible states like Connecticut, where a non-doctor can own the business. But, and this is a huge but, even there, only licensed clinicians can actually perform the medical procedures. You absolutely have to know your local laws first. And don't think you can outsmart the system. People get clever and try to set up these straw ownership deals where they pay a doctor to be the owner on paper while a non-licensed person is secretly running the show. Well, regulators are totally onto this. The North Carolina Medical Board is cracking down hard, and it's a super fast way to get hit with massive fines. Okay, so let's say you've navigated that ownership maze. What's the next big hurdle? Staffing. You can't just hire anybody to do these treatments. Every single state has these rigid scope of practice rules that spell out exactly who can legally do what. Okay, look closely at this chart. The big flashing red light here is the word never, right next to estheticians and injectables. Things like Botox and fillers, that's serious medical stuff, and it's strictly for licensed providers like doctors, NPs, PAs, or an RN under supervision. For other things like lasers, the rules for who needs to be watching can vary. Getting this wrong is a giant safety risk and a legal nightmare waiting to happen. And that brings us to another huge mistake: the absentee medical director. This is where a physician just cashes a check to put their name on the door, but never actually shows up or provides any real oversight. Let me be clear, regulators are coming down hard on this. Your medical director is the one ultimately responsible for every single medical procedure, and they have to be qualified and actively involved, period. All right, let's get into the weeds. Our third area of risk is that mountain of rules you just can't afford to ignore. This covers everything from keeping your employees safe and your patients' data private to the actual machines you're using. This is the day-to-day stuff that can get you into a world of trouble. It's kind of like an alphabet soup of regulations, but way less fun. You've got your state medical boards, the FDA watching your devices, OSHA for employee safety, HIPAA for patient privacy, and on top of all that, some machines like lasers often need their own special state registrations. And trust me, saying, "I didn't know" is not going to fly in court. And if you think these are just little suggestions, think again. Just look at this number. A single OSHA violation for something as basic as not disposing of needles correctly or not having a written safety plan can cost you more than $16,000 per violation. You can see how that could sink a business fast. This is why your paperwork has to be perfect. For every single procedure, you need incredibly detailed consent forms that clearly spell out all the risks, what could go wrong, and what the patient needs to do afterward. This isn't just bureaucracy, it's your #1 legal shield. Now for our fourth pitfall, and this is a big one in our Instagram-obsessed world: marketing. It is shockingly easy to post something on social media that accidentally breaks the law. See, you're not selling a t-shirt, you're selling a medical procedure. That means your ads, your website, your social media, everything is held to a much, much higher standard. Every claim you make and every photo you use is under a regulatory microscope. Here is a perfect do this, not that example. You can't say things like permanent or guaranteed results. The FTC and the FDA will come after you because it's misleading. So instead of get rid of wrinkles permanently, you say temporarily reduce the appearance. It seems like a small change in wording, but legally, it's a world of difference. And what about those amazing before and after photos that drive so much business? You have to be so careful. A patient's photo is considered protected health information under HIPAA. That means you can't just post it. You need specific, written consent that details exactly where, how, and for how long you can use it. A verbal okay is worthless and can lead to eye-watering HIPAA fines. So let's bring it all home. Here's your quick and dirty checklist of what we've talked about. First, you have to verify the ownership laws in your state. Second, you gotta make sure every single person on your team is working within their legal lane. Third, get a medical director who's actually involved, not just a name on the wall. And finally, play by all the rules, from OSHA's safety to getting written consent for every single marketing photo. Which brings us to the final, all-important question. As you map out your plan to get into this incredible market, you have to ask yourself, are you building a business or are you building a massive liability? The difference, truly, comes down to making compliance your #1 priority from day one. Thanks for tuning in.